I'm going to react, or I mean, talk about on this video here. I saw this TikTok compilation on a channel I follow, where they are talking about reincarnation and all of these topics I sometimes go into on my live streams here. Uh, that's scientific evidence for reincarnation and the consciousness. That consciousness is the source of everything in the universe. Things I've been saying on the streams and the channel here lately. So it's very fascinating.
You're going to want to tap into this one. This one is deep, especially if you're a human being. We got scientific proof. You heard me correctly. Scientific proof that you lived over and over and over, and you've lived hundreds, if not millions, of past lives. Tap in. But today, it's all about making immortality actually happen. Over the last decade or so, interest in quantum physics has skyrocketed. Scientists have unlocked the world of the very, very small, and with it have ushered in a new age for things like energy, computing, and medicine. More than all of that, however, our growing quantum knowledge has fundamentally reshaped what we think life is. The theory of biocentrism proposed by the US scientist Robert Lanza principally argues that rather than the universe creating life, it's actually life that creates the universe. What we in ourselves call consciousness was actually there at the beginning of everything. And it's just that now, almost 14 billion years later, consciousness channels itself through us, human beings. As such, we've come to view life, the universe, and everything through our bodies, processed by our brains. But really, to some degree, none of that is necessary. In this model, then, our brains and bodies might be viewed more like sophisticated modems, catching and translating signals and converting those into our own life experiences. But if the brain and body dies, if the modem is destroyed, then the signals don't just disappear as well. They remain and might well be rerouted or recycled into some other host. In a biocentric reality, life is the signal. And while we may think that it's so reliant on our bodies for communication, it actually carries on regardless. It's life as we don't know it, but it's life all the same. So the theory goes. Lanza's ideas have divided opinions as they were first put forward in the late 2000s. For some, biocentrism offers a bridge between the philosophical concepts of life and death and the physicality of it all. For others, the theory is still far too vague, with little to no evidence as to what consciousness really is. In subsequent discussions and interviews, Lanza has highlighted the famed double slit experiment to back biocentrism up. Via the experiment, scientists can show that light and matter can either be wave or particle, depending upon whether they are observed. Consciousness creates the universe, not the other way around. Supporters also draw on the fine-tuning problem for further reasons as to why biocentrism makes sense. The fine-tuning problem shows that there are so many physical conditions to the universe that make it just right for life, that it seems impossibly unlikely that we should be here in a universe that's so suited to us. When viewed biocentrically, though, there is no fine-tuning problem, because consciousness obviously would aim for a reality that works. According to some, all of this inevitably leads to so-called life after death, to death being an illusion, because life and consciousness no longer end with our bodies and brains. Instead, it dissipates out of us like a kind of energy into the rest of the universe of its own making, once the vehicle of a body is no more. Again, biocentrism is sometimes criticized for the vagueness of this aspect. Although it's not as though this is the first attempt to place consciousness or a soul beyond our physical needs. Discussions of that sort go all the way back to Rene Descartes, at least, in the 17th century and the Age of Enlightenment. More broadly still, biocentrism suggests that even the underlying principle of time is merely the product of consciousness inside our current bodies, creating a means through which to understand and remember. Time, and specifically the arrow of time, is then explained as a tool of our minds, rather than some kind of higher, immovable quality of the universe. But finally, Lanza's biocentrism isn't the only such idea towards living forever either. The succinctly named quantum immortality model relies on that other underpinning central concept of modern theoretical science, the multiverse. Developed out of Hugh Everett's many worlds interpretation, The idea is that for every choice or split that's ever made, a new branch of reality is formed. These branches never cross over, but run closely alongside one another, reflecting minor to major differences as a direct result of whatever caused the split in the first place. Over the years, science fiction writers have had a lot of fun with the story potential here, suggesting that huge events could well be determined upon a person's fleeting decision to buy an apple or a banana, for example. But what the multiverse could mean for life after death is something that science fact has pondered too. The basic premise of quantum immortality is that in a multiverse, there should always be a split possible through which a person survives. A rerouting through reality, which means that again and again and again, they live rather than die. The idea... I'm going to cut here, but it's very fascinating.
The only way out of reincarnation, out of being stuck and reaching the timeless, is through a spiritual death. This is why Buddhist philosophy was called total death. He didn't want people returning asking where they would go when they died or who they would be next, because there is no next to our infinite being. When you have truly awakened and broken through duality, there will be no question, for the questioner has experienced what's called total death for once and for all. This is why you truly only die but one time, because when you know, you know. You can never fool yourself again with the idea of separation or the idea of dying. When you face death once and for all, you will realize you've never been traveling from place to place. The place was evoked out of your presence, which means you are never not here. When you face death once and for all, you will realize you've never been traveling from place to place, person to person. Separation was the dream. The person and place were evoked through your presence, one consciousness, which means you have never been born and you have never died. It is you the whole time.
We've talked a lot about this here lately, about the reincarnation stuff and living multiple lives, and so I won't get too deep into my opinions on it. I feel like I'll just be rehashing the same thing. But one thing that I'm curious about is if he's claiming that there's eventually an ultimate death, so you won't be reincarnated and come back again. What happens after that? I'll have to look at the Dr. Wise stuff and the Dolores Cannon stuff and see if they have an explanation as to what happens after we are done reincarnating. But to my understanding, we just do it forever until we reach some sort of spiritual enlightenment, but I don't know what happens after that.
Yes, I'm going to try to answer these questions or reflect on them myself. After talking or showing you the topics before with the reincarnation science confirming it and why we reincarnate over and over again. And I believe most of you watching here probably have had previous lives already, but you don't remember it. And some of you may remember it actually, but there are ways to remember. But in my case, I don't know if I want to remember, because I know I've lived many lives, and I have always flashbacks and visions, and it's very painful because there's so much attachment and emotions behind it. And there's a reason to why we are wiped. You know, our memories are wiped when we are reincarnated, because we don't want to remember all the attachment, the pain, and the people we loved, because it's too painful. It's too painful. I keep having these past life dreams almost daily. I lived lives when I sleep, and I remember the people, the emotions. It's very painful when you wake up with this feeling. And one of the reasons to why I believe we are reincarnated, to me it's 100% true that we are reincarnated, and even science here, like I showed you, is on this track now, is to break free of the cycle, to have a true death in that sense, and spiritual death, and go beyond and go back to becoming the higher self, becoming the true self. And that one is like equivalent to becoming the divine, becoming your divine one, divine self, becoming like the creator, like God, in that sense. And consciousness, it is the reality is derives of consciousness, like mentioned in the video here. Everything is consciousness. I've been talking about it for a few months now here on this channel. I'm bringing it up. And when we die, We have to repeat until we learn everything we are supposed to learn, because it works that way. It's I hate to bring up the word karma sometimes, but it's like it's related to that. You have to learn everything, go through everything you're meant to experience before you become enlightened and truly enlightened. And it just keeps repeating until you reach that level of enlightenment, your consciousness. And it's a lot of people consider it like it's a soul trap, in a sense that we are trapped and forced to reincarnate. But maybe it's not that we are trapped or forced to do it. It's more that it's a cycle we need to go through. We can't break it until we actually transcend reality that much that we can break free, because it's how it works. So we are put over and over and over in a vessel until we break the cycle. And that's how self-deification works. To go back to source, we need to become source, and the only way to do it is by breaking these cycles and understanding how everything is one connected, how everything is one entire large consciousness experiencing itself. And it's a process that takes many lifetimes for some. And I've talked about this topic many times before with my ex-wife, for example. We both have had similar lives. We have been born into difficult lives of from the beginning, just having pain and trauma and difficulties. My own life has been just filled with sadness and pain and trauma from the beginning. My life's just been pain, to be honest. It's just been suffering, but in some weird way, I found a inner peace and harmony in all of this pain and trauma. I've managed to find the calmness and peacefulness even in this suffering is my life. I live under conditions that are, according to some, just dreadful. With poverty and jobless. I don't fit in a society. I can't make friends, and all of these things that are very difficult to live with. And I still managed to find an internal peaceful bliss state, even in this anxiety and depression of life. And I talked about this with my ex-wife, and she said, since she is into the Kabbalah, and now she's on the Cliffotic tree, the upside down, to understand the other side, the inverted side. She told me that one of the pillars there are, once you reach all types of enlightenment, spiritual enlightenments, the only thing left for you is to re-enter a vessel and experience a life of suffering, a life of pain. And the purpose of this is that you've gone through all of these reincarnation cycles. You know all of these things already by your consciousness, but you need to experience one last level. And it's just being born in a reality of pain where everything is against you, where you just have to suffer for the suffering itself to understand what it's all about. And simultaneously in this suffering find a blissful state of harmony, knowing what purpose it serves. And we had this talk, and it was like a very enlightening talk, because we realized why we exist, and why I understand why I have to go through this myself. And it all relates to going beyond duality and balance, which I've been talking about here. Balance. Once you go beyond duality, once you finally go beyond duality, you are free from the reincarnation cycle and from being recycled, because everything goes back to balance. Everything began beyond duality, in that sense. Everything began that way. So in a way, going beyond duality and becoming balanced is the way to break the cycle. You will become one with the higher consciousness and be able to see everything from the true perspective, the true self, the true one that is free from the reincarnation cycles. And one of my goals when I understood this myself, that we reincarnate, and saw the patterns of consciousness and all of this, how past incarnations and visions and memories from my past lives, I understood that I need to break it, because I'm here to learn how to become balanced and bring in balance to reality too. So I've always felt like I don't want to come back. This is my last time here. This is my last time, and I talked with my ex-wife about this. She said the same thing. She also feels it's her last time. I don't want to come back. I want to break the cycle. I don't want to come back here. I don't want to anymore be here. And it's beautiful and it's melancholic at the same time, because I know that this is probably the last time I have this experience. But I want to go back to whatever is beyond duality and the reincarnation cycle and consciousness, the higher aspect of it. But I don't want to come back here. I don't see the purpose of it anymore, because it's like, why would I restart when I've reached these, awakenings again? There's like no purpose for me other than maybe raise the consciousness of humanity and awaken humanity. So that's one of the reasons to why I believe some of us who have already achieved this enlightenment and gone beyond breaking the cycle of reincarnation, we can enter reality again and live and reincarnate on purpose, once we have reached that level, just to help people for some reason, ascend reality. So that fits into the entire, starseed concept too, and walk-ins and reincarnations. There will be higher, consciousness inhabiting vessels temporarily in this life. So this was my own opinions on these topics here with reincarnation and breaking free from it, and how science is confirming that we are eternal beings, and that consciousness lays the foundation for entire reality, the universe itself, all we experience. It's related to consciousness. Consciousness forms reality. Everything is consciousness. That's what I wanted to emphasize on this video. And there's no real death. Death is just the illusion of separation, basically. We go back to oneness and recycle ourselves and restart until we learn everything we're meant to learn. That's my opinion on it. So I just wanted to talk about this here on this video, because I noticed I've gotten a lot of people who are into these topics lately as subscribers, and the friends I talk about it, I talk to on my streams, and subscribers that comment on my videos like these topics, and it feels much more enlightening, sorry my English, to talk about these topics on the channel that I really like and love, and is part of my essence, than just post superficial videos where I'm just dressed up and looking cute and expressing all of that. Of course, that serves a purpose too, and is important. But mostly, I want to show this side of who I am, the person I am, because this has always been part of me long before I started, showing videos with makeup on and expressing different sides of the duality of a man. So yeah, hopefully you found this video interesting, and thanks for watching and listening.